I'm Nedra Knurk. I'm president of Future RGV, and I want to welcome our candidates, our moderator, Steve Taylor, and all of you people out there watching our candidates on Facebook or later on our website to hear our Hidalgo County District Attorney candidates who are running on the Democratic primary to serve you as District Attorney of Hidalgo County. And I want to remind you that all of you can be watching this on Facebook right now, but after it's over, you can also watch it on Facebook, or you can go to our website and see what the candidates have to say up until Election Day on March 1. And now I'd like to thank our sponsors, because our sponsors help bring these forums and the other events that we do to you, our audience. So thank you to our sponsors: Rhodes Enterprises, AT&T, Sam Garcia Architect, Frost Bank, IBC Bank, Clark Chevrolet, L&F Distributors, Valley Land Title, Rio Bank, DHR Health, Ernie Williams, and our in-kind sponsors that we couldn't do without: Copy Zone, Upper Valley Mail Service, and CSL Enterprises, and Milo Rodriguez, who is filming all of this and helping get it to you. We want to thank you, Milo, so thank you, because he is Crazy Stupid Live Enterprises. Okay, and I also want to thank our host, Stephen Wingert and Ryan Henry and Gabriel Ramirez and Matt Sesteda. They are all with AIM Media, and AIM Media owns the Brownsville Herald and the Monitor, and they have been very, very helpful in helping us to bring these forums to you. So thank you very much to AIM Media. And let's see, we do want to say something about the League of Women Voters. They have been partnering with us, and they were going to be here, but evidently didn't make it. But League of Women Voters has information for the voters on vote.411. They are taking information from all of our candidates at these candidate forums, and you can find that information, as I say, on vote.411, and that will be very helpful to you to be an informed voter. So now, let's introduce Steve Taylor, our moderator. And I think most people know you, Steve, Rio Grande Guardian. And Steve has helped us on many events over the years. So Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Nedra. I'd like to thank both candidates, obviously, for being here tonight. Looking forward to this candidates forum. The way we're going to do this, we're going to ask both candidates to give 1.5 minutes of opening remarks and we have a specific question for them. After that, we'll have 10 or so questions. Each candidate will get a minute to answer the question, and we'll rotate the questions each time, so the candidates each get a chance to answer the question first. So we're going to start in ballot order. So I better introduce the two candidates. Well, first of all, to my left, Noeda Lopez-Singletary, and to my right, Toribio Terry Palacios. They're the two candidates in this open race for Hidalgo County District Attorney. So in ballot order, Terry, you get to go first with your opening remarks, and if you would, answer this question. Besides the people of Hidalgo County, what do you see as our single biggest asset and our single biggest concern, our greatest concern? How would you address that concern?
First of all, I want to thank Futuro RGV for having this forum. I want to thank Ms. Singletary for being here. Our biggest asset in Hidalgo County is our growth population. That has given us an abundance amount of new opportunities for our citizens. Although we do have an issue. Our biggest issue is jail overcrowding. We spend millions of dollars in our jail just to house inmates. Now, in our county jail, now we spend another $7 million of our taxpayers' money to house people outside our county jail. So, because we can't fit them in our county jail. That is an issue, okay? Now, as a municipal court judge, I have served Edinburgh for many years, and I have seen that a lot of these arrests, an increasing amount of arrests due to mental health issues and substance abuse issues. So how do we address this? The way we address this is by getting our community together, our mental health providers, our substance abuse providers, and our law enforcement to create a crisis center.
Thank you, Terry. Your 1.5 minutes is up.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you. Same question to Nareda. Opening remarks. And the question, beside the people in Hidalgo County, what do you see as our biggest single asset and our single greatest concern? How would you address that concern?
Hello, my name is Senada Lopez Singletary, and I am your candidate for Hidalgo County District Attorney. And thank you so much, Futuro RGV, for having me here today to share my platform with our viewers. The single biggest asset that we have, hands down, is our local, state, and federal agencies, our law enforcement that are out there day and night fighting to keep our community safe. These individuals, these men and women, are out there protecting our rights, and, they are our biggest asset that we have. But one of the greatest concerns, talking about our police officers, our law enforcement, our agencies, is public corruption. Public corruption is something that we hear about, that is being talked about, but has not been acted upon on. And we need, Hidalgo County is the 7th largest county in the state of Texas, and it's about time that we have a public corruption task force. Public corruption affects all of us. It affects our lives, our families, our community safety. It affects infrastructure. It affects the way contracts are handed of businesses, schools being built. It is something that needs to be handled with care, and we need someone that has the backbone. We need someone that is not part or controlled by the establishment to make this happen and to make it happen correctly. And I am that person.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the questions, and I will say that the questions have been formulated by the task force, the Futuro RGV committee. And so thank you to the committee for these questions. We're going to start with you, Nareda. What experience or qualification sets you apart from your opponent?
The experience and the qualifications that set me apart is that I have a diverse and vast experience. I have represented my community as a former educator, an attorney, a judge, and a former public defender. And I have represented people from all walks of life. My experience in the legal community is vast and is diverse. It's not only in one area of the law. The DA's office is an office that is not only about criminal prosecution, but it is also about representing and advocating for victims and crimes. And that is what sets me apart. I have made it a lifelong commitment to represent victims of domestic violence, men, women, and children. And that is that diverse experience that sets me apart from my opponent.
Thank you. The same question to you, Terry, 1 minute. What experience or qualification sets you apart from your opponent?
Well, I am Terry Palacios, and I've been a criminal defense attorney for the last 30 years. That is something that sets me apart from my opponent. Now, being a criminal defense attorney for 30 years, you've seen just about everything. And not only have I been a criminal defense attorney for 30 years, I've been a municipal court judge for 27 of those years. I've worked with police departments from the very inception, from the probable cause statements to the magistrations to actually setting a bond. That is something the opponent cannot say. Now, that sets me apart from my opponent. I've also worked with victims and stood by my defendants' rights as a criminal defense attorney.
Thank you. Next question. This will go to you, Terry, first of all. The pandemic stopped Hidalgo County from holding jury trials for more than a year. As a result, the district attorney's office is faced with a huge backlog of cases. If elected, how would you handle that backlog?
The way we're going to handle that backlog is by having everybody prepare properly to try these cases effectively and efficiently as possible. Now, if there is a trial that needs to be set that does not include a victim, I would like to see if we can set a bench trial. Bench trial is done in a much faster pace. So therefore, it will cut down our docket. Okay? But everybody, has to be on the ball. Everybody has to be working efficiently and effectively so justice could be done.
Thank you. The same question for you, narrator. The pandemic stopped Hidalgo County from holding jury trials for more than a year. As a result, the district attorney's office is faced with a huge backlog of cases. If elected, how would you handle that backlog?
To handle the backlog, my mission in running for district attorney is to be able to collaborate with everyone. That is law enforcement, our judges, and all other agencies. So if we have a backlog of cases, we need to work on programs that are going to make those cases fast-tracked. We need to spend time and money in diversion programs. Currently, we have a problem, not only in the country where we are incarcerating most of the criminals, but we have a problem here in Hidalgo County, spending a lot of money, like we mentioned before, housing inmates in other counties. How do we do that? Let's start creating diversion programs so that we start not only prosecuting everybody, it's about finding justice and giving opportunities to people who deserve it and holding violent criminals accountable, but we fast log those cases by having other diversion programs and other alternatives. It's not just simply taking every case to trial, but it's seeking justice and justice for all.
Thank you. Next question. This will go to you first of all, narrator. Civil asset forfeiture laws. They allow for the government to seize property allegedly linked to criminal activity, even if the owner isn't charged with a crime. Supporters say civil forfeiture laws make sure that crime doesn't pay. Opponents say civil forfeiture laws aren't fair and create a system that focuses on profit instead of law enforcement. If elected, how would you make sure the civil forfeiture isn't abused in Hidalgo County?
That's a great question. One of the problems that we have comes about with selective prosecution. And where we have to focus every case, not only criminal cases, but also civil and forfeiture cases, is basing those on evidence. We have to take every case and base it on the evidence that we have, on the investigations that they have, and then we let it take its course. So when we talk about, them not being abusing of the power, it's great. We need to have and continue to have those units in our civil division, in our forfeiture divisions, where everything is based on evidence and the investigations, and it's not based on anything else. And that's the way that we make our justice system work.
Thank you. And Terry, the same question. Civil asset forfeiture laws allow the government to seize property allegedly linked to criminal activity, even if the owner isn't charged with a crime. Supporters say civil forfeiture laws make sure that crime doesn't pay. Opponents say civil forfeiture laws aren't fair and create a system that focuses on profit instead of law enforcement. If elected, how would you make sure that the civil forfeiture isn't abused in Hidalgo County?
Well, we're going to make sure that the facts justifies the forfeiture. We can't just allow our police departments to come in there and just because you have monies or they're trying to forfeit your assets to come in there and just take your property. We are going to have to manage that to make sure there is a criminal activity behind that. Now, if that money it cannot be justified, if that property cannot be justified, that's when we act. Now, this is a civil matter, so it's not beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's by preponderance of the evidence. So therefore, I mean, we just need to make sure we are well prepared, that we have specialized people to prosecute these cases and do the right thing.
Thank you. Next question will be for you, Terry. First of all, should assistant district attorneys be allowed to handle civil, family, or probate cases on the side to supplement their income?
I don't have a problem with assistant district attorneys doing side work, as long as they don't do it on the state's time. I mean, if a prosecutor is going to cut time from what the state is paying him, that is not right. Okay, he needs to do it on his own time, after 5. And also, I would hold him accountable to all his cases. Now, he needs to prepare for his cases as well. So I will not encourage private practice, but if they need to do it to supplement their income, then as long as they don't cut into my time or into the time of the DE's office and not be prepared, then that's going to be a problem.
Thank you. Same question for you, narrator. Should assistant district attorneys be allowed to handle civil, family, or probate cases on the side to supplement their income?
And that is a great question, and I disagree with my opponent. Absolutely not. I don't believe that assistant DA's attorneys should be able to supplement. And that's not supplementing their income that I don't agree with, is having that, avoiding that appearance of impropriety, that appearance that some of these cases are going to overlap. When we have them there, they are there to protect and to seek justice on these criminal cases. And some of these criminal cases at some point will also overlap with some of those family and civil cases. The DA's office is one that has to be held to a high standard, show integrity, and when we lose that balance of someone perhaps crossing that line and being able to not take time away, but not being able to track it, I think that is what people are disappointed on. They want to have an office that is transparent and is there simply to work on one mission. So I disagree with that.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. Narrator, this will be for you first of all. Public corruption remains a major problem in Hidalgo County. Should the district attorney's office focus more resources on fighting public corruption, or is public corruption an issue better handled by federal prosecutors?
And I'm glad you asked that question. I touched briefly upon it upon my opening. Public corruption is a big issue. Like I said, it's affecting everyone. And no, we should not let public corruption just be handled by the federal agencies. We have this corruption that is happening at a local level. And there's no reason that we, Hidalgo County, does not have a public corruption task force. That is one of the priorities that I will bring when elected as your next district attorney, is forming that task force. We need a semi-autonomous division where we're going to have special prosecutors that are going to be vetted for conflicts, where we're going to have investigators that have that experience fighting and investigating white-collar crimes and public corruption. It's about time that we handle these cases, that we root out corruption without making it a political weapon.
Thank you. The same question to you, Terry. Public corruption remains a major problem in Hidalgo County. Should the district attorney's office focus more resources on fighting public corruption, or is the public corruption an issue better handled by federal prosecutors?
Definitely not an issue that should be handled by federal authorities. I mean, if they want to handle them, that's fine, but we should focus on them as well. Now, we need to specialize the courts, just like we have our crimes against children. We need to get special prosecutors, very well trained, to get ready for these type of cases. Not only that, we need to train from the small cities. I mean, the public corruption usually happens in smaller cities where people don't follow the rules. So I want to make sure that we train our police officers, our investigators, to target any type of public corruption. So we need to train them properly so we can easily prosecute, and we will prosecute public corruption if it happens in Hidalgo County.
Thank you very much. The next question goes to you, Terry. Both of you have served as municipal judges. What did you learn from that experience?
I've served as a municipal court judge for 27 years. I've learned just about everything from the municipal court judge. You know, we take care of Class C misdemeanors. I've spoken to, a municipal court is a court where you see more people than any other court. And I've been there for 27 years. I've done anything from a Class C misdemeanor to a magistration on a capital murder. I've gone through hundreds and hundreds of probable cause statements. You know, I've worked with Edinburgh Police Department. I've done several magistrations. I've given advice, and not only for Edinburgh Police Department, it's for all agencies. I've done warrants for DPS and other agencies that may need a search warrant, probable cause warrant, blood warrants. I've done it all in 27 years.
Thank you. Same question for you, narrator. You've both served as municipal judges. What did you learn from that experience?
My experience and my work to my community has always been to serve others and never to serve myself. I was recently appointed based on my qualifications and my experience as a municipal judge in San Juan. I did this on a voluntary basis, on a pro bono basis. Why? Because the city of San Juan, like so many of our cities right now, are having a hard time with their resources. So I was appointed as a municipal judge in San Juan. I've only served as a voluntary basis when I am needed. And, you know, the overlap that you have, I've served as a master court judge. And in those cases, we did have criminal cases. We set bonds for people that are facing incarceration for lack of payment of their child support. So those issues overlap for the municipal. I have not been there long enough since I just stepped down from the bench, but it's the same thing. It's setting of bonds. It's considering all the facts, all the evidence. When people are there, they're there because their liberty is at stake. So we need someone that has that experience, and my experience serving as a master court judge, having similar cases where people are going beyond us, it serves the same purpose as a municipal judge.
Thank you very much. Next question. We'll go to you first of all, narrator. As part of his border security initiative, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has pushed to have migrants arrested on misdemeanor trespassing charges. If state troopers in Hidalgo County started arresting migrants and charging them with trespassing, how would you handle those cases?
When I took an oath to become an attorney, that oath was to protect and follow the state and federal and the Constitution of the United States. When I became a judge, I also took an oath to uphold the laws of our state, our Constitution, and our nation, and it will be the same thing. Having these cases where they are going to be charged as misdemeanors or not, it's very simple. My duty to my community is simply to follow the law. If they are being charged with this, then as assistant district attorney, we just have to uphold the law.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Terry. As part of his border security initiative, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has pushed to have migrants arrested on misdemeanor trespassing charges. If state troopers in Hidalgo County started arresting migrants and charging them with trespassing, how would you handle those cases?
Well, first of all, a criminal trespass, you need a victim. Is the state of Texas going to be the victim on this case? I don't know. We're a land of freedom. I mean, if the elements don't fit the crime, why are we going to charge these people that are coming across? I mean, now, if it does fit, and the state of Texas is going to say, well, this is my land and you can't cross, and you're going to be criminally trespassing, I mean, unless it's worded and we have some case law, I'm not real satisfied about charging any immigrant with criminal trespass. But if the law states I have to, as a criminal defense attorney, I am going to follow the law, and we will prosecute if need be.
Thank you. Next question. We'll go to you, Terry, first of all. What can the District Attorney's Office do better what can the District Attorney's Office do better to support victims of crime and keep them informed about the status of the cases they're involved in?
Well, we already have in place a victims crimes unit where we take in these victims. Every court already has a victims crimes personnel that would hold. Our victims doesn't know anything about going through the process. They walk them through the process. They take them through the process of what happens, when it happens, and it should be getting done. Now, we need to expand on that. We need to help them to get some help, either counseling or assistance, and lead them the right way. And there are various programs for them. We need to continue and expound and do better with that. Do better with the communication with the victims. Let them know where the case is at, how are they gonna go. Walk them through the whole process. Because a lot of times our victims don't want to show up because they don't know what's going on. So we need to educate them and give them the services they need in order to repair their hurt.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Nareda. What can the District Attorney's Office do to better support victims of crime and keep them informed about the status of the cases they're involved in?
Throughout my life, I have represented and I have advocated for victims during my whole career. The DA's office can do a better job. And how do we do this? By having support services for our victims. How else can we go ahead and better what we have right now is by having advocacy programs for them that are available, having resources on a case-by-case program. These victims are going through a lot. They deserve resources. They deserve advocacy and support services. And how else can we better it? By having them empowered of not being ashamed of what happened to them, empowered at going forward and being great role models for our community. So how do we better that? Support services, advocacy programs, resources on a case-by-case, and empowering our victims.
Thank you very much. Next question goes back to you, Nareda. There's a nationwide movement to abolish cash bail, which sometimes keeps poor people in jail for non-violent offences simply because they don't have enough money to pay a bondsman. Do you think the cash bail system works, or should it be reformed?
The cash bail needs to be reformed. A bond is not made to punish an individual. The bond is simply to ensure that that person returns back to court and is present for the hearing. But the problem that we're having is that a lot of poor people, and that includes people in our community who do not have the means to post bond. So we need to make changes to our bond system where we allow, for example, first-time offenders, students, or your youth to be able to come out on a signature bond basis where they are able to return back to work, we're able to return back to school. What we need to do is to keep these individuals from reoffending. And how do we do that? Once we incarcerate a person, 3 days in jail a day in jail moves them back 3 years. They're losing their houses, they're losing their careers, their jobs, and they're losing their schooling. So what we need to do is make sure that we reform the system where it does not punish those that do not have the means, but is able to keep our community safe at the same time.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Terry. There's a nationwide movement to abolish cash bail, which sometimes keeps poor people in jail for non-violent offences simply because they don't have enough money to pay a bondsman. Do you think the cash bail system works, or should it be reformed?
Our cash bail system does work for offenses that are serious. But in reference to misdemeanor cases, as a municipal court judge, for nonviolent offenses, I consider a whole bunch of bonds based on personal reconnaissance. In other words, we need to assess the purpose of the bond is to make sure you show up to court, make sure you're not a danger to society. Okay? And if you meet those two elements and that you can actually afford the bond. Now, if a person cannot afford the bond, he's not a danger to himself or to others, and does not have the means to pay it, then a PR bond will be fine. I mean, he's not a danger to the community. He has no money. I would highly recommend that a PR bond. I did for many years in my court consider personal reconnaissance bond on our indigent and on our indigent defendants.
Thank you. This question goes to you first, Terry. What role, if any, can the District Attorney's Office play in reducing overcrowding at the Hidalgo County Jail, which costs taxpayers millions of dollars?
Well, as a municipal court judge, I have seen an increase of jailings because of our mental health issues and substance abuse issues. Now, I think what we need to do is have our community, our mental health providers, our substance abuse providers, and our law enforcement come together and create what is called a crisis center. What a crisis center will do is that if anybody is arrested for a mental health issue or a substance abuse issue, he should be allowed to be coming to this crisis center, be evaluated, and maybe even treated, allowing the police officer to go back to the street and try to treat the problem instead of trying to jail the problem. And I've seen it. There's been an increasing amount of jailings because of mental health and substance abuse. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. And Nareda, the same question to you. What role, if any, can the District Attorney's Office play in reducing overcrowding at the Hidalgo County Jail, which costs taxpayers millions of dollars?
The District Attorney's Office plays a huge role in this problem that we have. That taxpayers' money needs to be used effectively and efficiently. We are having this problem, and it's a problem that's been ongoing. In 2018, we spent $4 million housing these inmates out of Hidalgo County. In 2020, we spent over $6 million housing these inmates out of Hidalgo County. I, as a master court judge, have worked with other judges and in the court system, so the DA's office plays a big role. We need to work with our judges to ensure that we're not only to reduce the numbers of the non-offenders that are in the jail system. But keep in mind, I am not saying that we're going to be soft on crime. We need to keep those violent offenders in custody. However, we need to work with the rest of our court judges, with law enforcement and the stakeholders so that we have those resources available. By taking out the non-violent offenders are in jail, we're going to be able to use those resources and holding accountable and using that money to keep those violent offenders in there. But the DA's office plays a big role in helping our problem that we have with the overcrowding of the jail system.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question. That's back to you, Nareda. What did Hidalgo County District Attorney Ricardo Rodriguez do well, and what would you have done differently? And of course, we should say he's still there for another year.
Yes. What our district attorney has done well is, of course, brought a new perspective, a new change to Hidalgo County. When he came in, there was a change that he brought that was needed. And what is it that I'm going to be doing also is bringing that change. We want someone in there that is going to represent everyone, that has the community's interest at mind, that we are there to serve others and not serve ourselves. I have a plan of action of incorporating units. One, the public corruption unit that is not there. That is something that is needed that our current district attorney has not had. And that is my priority coming in, creating this unit of focusing and fighting public corruption. The other thing that I plan to bring is, like I said, working with our court system to reduce the jail overcrowding. The jail overcrowding is only getting worse, and we have to allow our prosecutors the freedom to go ahead and make choices and go ahead and make recommendations to stop having the jail overcrowding in our system.
Thank you. The same question for you, Terry. What did Hidalgo County District Attorney Ricardo Rodriguez do well, and what would you do differently?
What our DA did well is that he started working with our police, our law enforcement, starting to train our law enforcement. Another thing he did, he created a specialized, a special crimes unit, which one of the units is crimes against children. The other one is domestic violence unit. Now, what I would do different is I would continue that progress he has done in the last years and do a public corruption unit, a major crimes unit for homicides and aggravated robberies. We need to do a white-collar crime unit so we can do thefts and burglaries. I mean, this is what we need to do. And continue with our communication with our police officers, letting the police officers what they did, where are their cases at, a communication within our police department and working together and will enhance that.
Thank you. The next question goes to you first of all, Terry. Do you support or oppose the legalization or decriminalization of marijuana? Please explain your position.
I don't, as a district attorney's office, we're going to follow the law. If the legislators decriminalizes marijuana, we're going to have to follow the law. As long as the legislator does not decriminalize it, we're going to go ahead and prosecute. Now, are we going to send kids to jail because they have possession of marijuana? No. But we do have to send them to some type of treatment. We do have to monitor them to make sure it's not a gateway drug to other drugs. Okay? That's what we need to do. We don't want to keep our kids in jail for a possession of marijuana. I think they should be considered a personal reconnaissance bond if they're first-time offenders. We don't want to start labeling our kids as criminals just because they're smoking marijuana. But you know what? We do need to monitor, especially if they're starting at a young age, because that may be a gateway to other more serious drugs.
And the same question for you, narrator. Do you support or oppose the legalization or decriminalization of marijuana? Please explain your position.
Once again, like I said, when we take the oath as an attorney, as a judge, or a district attorney, our beliefs are irrelevant. Our point of views are irrelevant. We are there to uphold and follow the law. When it comes to marijuana offenses, we will simply follow what the state has to do. Of course, we will work, like I said, with diversion programs. We do have the option when it's less than 2 ounces, whether to classify them or to be arrested under a Class C or a Class B. And if they are a Class B, then those cases come before the district attorney's office. And we need to have diversion programs where we are able to help our youth, able to help those individuals. Like I said, the DA's office is not simply about seeking convictions. It's about seeking justice and giving those who need a chance, an opportunity. So my beliefs are irrelevant. We simply follow the law. However, we do have programs in place to address individuals that are arrested and charged with this.
Thank you. This is questions for you first, narrator. Do you think District Attorney Ricardo Rodriguez should have recused himself from the voter fraud case against Edinburgh Mayor Richard Molina to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest?
So we have systems in place whenever there is a conflict. So the Court of Criminal Appeals recently came back with an 8-1 unanimous decision where they said that even though the Office of the Attorney General cannot prosecute voter fraud cases unilaterally, they can do so at the request of the district attorney. We also have another system in place where if there is a conflict or to avoid the appearance of impropriety, the district attorney can seek help from the 5th Region, where they appoint a special prosecutor, where they appoint someone to come down here and take care of the case. I do not know the facts to comment on a specific case, but I do know that on this cases where there becomes an issue, where perhaps the individuals know each other, where perhaps the charges were brought by a family member, then the district attorney should recuse himself. And we have avenues and we have safeties in place to take care of this situation. So I believe that in this situation, the district attorney should have probably recused himself simply based on the relationships and on the fact of them living within the same city.
And the same question for you, Terry. Do you think District Attorney Ricardo Rodriguez should have recused himself from the voter fraud case against Edinburgh Mayor Richard Molina to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest?
You know, I'm not sure whether he should have recused himself or not. I mean, as a district attorney, if you have a personal issue with a person you're prosecuting, I mean, you should recuse yourself. Now, if you could be fair and impartial and make sure justice is done, then why should you recuse yourself? Just because you know somebody? I mean, I don't think so. Now, if I was a district attorney and because of my relationship or because I know Mr. Molina, I would have recused myself based on the facts. Because I know him, I don't think I will be fair to him, or I don't want to be. I want to be fair and impartial. Just like when I took my when I was a judge, I want to be fair and impartial to everybody that stands before me. And if you can do that and you take an oath to be fair and impartial, then you should prosecute. If you can't be fair and impartial, then you should remove yourself. And that is basically a personal feeling, and not you shouldn't take a vendetta on anybody, but it's all a personal feeling, and that's how I feel.
Next question is for you, Terry. Would you support a law school in Hidalgo County?
I definitely will support a law school in Hidalgo County. I was one of the first to go to law school in my family, and we came from humble beginnings. I mean, had we had a law school here, I think that would have been much easier for me to go to law school. Now, as a young person here in Hidalgo County, I mean, I didn't even know an attorney when I went to law school. So I got encouraged by my partner, Quintanilla, and I went to law school, and I successfully completed it, and I was the first one to do that, and after that, everybody followed. So yes, I would encourage a law school. That would not only benefit our kids here, but our indigent kids that can't travel and don't have the means to support somebody abroad.
And Nareda, for you, I mean, if we'd have had a law school here, you could have saved a lot of travel time. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. I am the proud daughter of two immigrants who came to this country with a third grade education. So the value of education to me is very important. I was the first one in my family to attain a post-secondary education. That came from receiving a VAMOS scholarship. If it was not for VAMOS, I would have not been the first one in my family to attend college. Now, law school. I attended Michigan State College of Law, and I was the only Latina there. Our youth, our community needs a law school. We need to have opportunities for all of us. And absolutely, Steve, I would have saved a lot of money. So I am all for giving our community that opportunity that I did not have. And a lot of people helped me get to where I'm at. I was a migrant worker who became a teacher, who became an attorney, and became a judge. And I know there's a whole lot of other students out there who want and deserve that opportunity. So I am all for having a law school here in the Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you. We'll stick with you on this question, Nareda, and we're into this part of the show now where the questions were not typed, so I hope I can read the handwriting. What are your top 3 priorities for the District Attorney's Office?
My top 3 priorities is 1, to keep our community safe, to keep violent offenders off our street. My second priority is to create this public corruption unit so that we take away that black cloud that surrounds our community, and that we're able to prosecute and investigate these cases at a local level so that we are able to bring back trust into our leaders, trust into our DA's office, and trust in our community. And the third one has to be what has driven me to go to law school and to fight for others, and that is to protect our victims of domestic violence, men, women, and children. We need to protect them by having resources available to them, by empowering them and breaking the cycle that we have of domestic violence. It's a prevalent problem that we have. And as someone who is a survivor and someone who has overcome the odds, that is one of my top 3 priorities. So 1, community safety, keeping our community safe. 2, having this public corruption task force. And 3, protecting our victims and survivors of crime and domestic violence.
Thank you. And Terry, the same question for you. What are your top 3 priorities for the District Attorney's Office?
My top priority is to keep our community safe and our families safe in our community, to prosecute violent crimes, to be tough on crime. That is my main priority. As a criminal district attorney, we need to feel, our citizens need to feel they're safe out there. So we will be tough on crime. Our second priority is to work with the first-time offenders, with our kids that get involved in because of their mental health issues or substance abuse issues. Help them. Let's not label these kids and put them in through the pipeline straight to the jail and give them a conviction. We need to work with these kids. My last goal is to allow and protect our victims, to make sure they understand what's going on, to have the advocates we have, to get them by the hand and follow them through, to make sure they understand what's going on, to keep in communication with our victims, to empower them, to make sure that they are well protected. And those are my goals.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. The next question goes to you, Terry. Many communities have started to criminalize the homeless. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, I think we should not criminalize the homeless. I mean, these people that are homeless usually have mental health issues or substance abuse issues. We need to help this homeless. I think with a crisis center, we can have these people come into the crisis center, we can evaluate them, and we can assist them some way or another. I mean, in my line of work as a municipal court judge, we've had homeless people get arrested for criminal trespass and get jailed, for that. I mean, they do not deserve jail if you have no home and you overstay your welcome at a certain business. So I would advocate to help our homeless and not to criminalize them.
And the same question for you, Nareda. Many communities have started to criminalize the homeless. What are your thoughts on this issue?
So my thoughts is that many people are not happy with the way that our justice system works, and they think that it is broken. It's not broken. It's working the way that it was designed. What we need to do is we need to change those policies. Perfect example comes with homelessness. Homelessness, we're not seeking to just simply arrest and convict people. We have to seek justice. We need to work together. My mission in running for district attorney is to be able to work with everyone in our justice system, which is our communities, our law enforcement, and have policies in place to help victims. These are homeless people that need help. They are homeless for various reasons. One of them is, yes, a lot of them have mental health issues. Domestic violence is also something that it's the third largest cause of homelessness in our community, comes as a result of victims of domestic violence. So we need to work together to change these policies, and the DA's office has an important role in working with everyone else in our community to address this very important and sensitive issue.
Thank you very much. The next question goes back to you, Nareda. Many of the programs that both of you have talked about this evening, such as mental health programs and drug programs, cost money. Where will the money come from to support these programs?
And like I said, we need to use our taxpayers' money effectively and efficiently. We need to look at things that we can reduce the cost that we are spending. And we talked about it. The perfect example is jail overcrowding. We are spending millions of dollars that are going outside of our community to house them there. How do we address this? How do we reduce those costs? One, perhaps building a jail within Hidalgo County or bringing other places that we don't have to spend this money housing them. If we are able to reduce those resources and keep them, we're going to be able to better spend them in our community. So the DA's office has various issues that we can have an impact to reduce those costs and bring that money back and spend it on our taxpayers and spend it wisely in programs that are going to work for all of us.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Terry. Many of the programs that both of you have talked about this evening, such as the mental health programs, the drug programs, they cost money. where will the money come from to support these programs?
Well, we spend millions of dollars housing our inmates here in Hidalgo County. We've spent over $7 million housing our inmates outside of county because we can't fit them into our county. Now, if we stop jailing our mental health patients and substance abuse, that money could be diverted to fund a crisis center so we can have some type of evaluation and help for mental health patients and our substance abuse patients. That money that's spent right now, the $7 million that is spent to house, that we're overspending to house our inmates, if we lessen that amount, if we stop jailing our mental health people and people having substance abuse, we could divert that money back into this system, which is called, so we can help them out.
Thank you. Next question for you, Terry. Many crimes do not have respect for county borders. How would you work with your counterparts in other counties on these issues?
I'm sorry, can you read that to me again, Steve?
Sure. Many crimes do not have respect for county borders. How would you work with your counterparts in other counties?
I think communication with our neighboring district attorney's office is very important, especially if our crimes are spilling over from one county to another. We need to work together as a unit, as a Rio Grande Valley, in order to prevent any type of double prosecution, or if that prosecution is if he commits one aggravated robbery in Hidalgo County and we don't know that he's committed another aggravated robbery in Cameron County or in Willacy County. That's why communication between all our district attorney's office is vital to prevent any type of spillage over, and we can know exactly what we're doing.
Thank you, and the same for you, Nareda. Many crimes do not have respect for county borders. How would you work with your counterparts in other counties?
Working as a master court judge in 3 different counties, I can tell you that communication is key. My skills as a judge, as an attorney, and as a mediator have prepared me and given me that background experience to be able to work very well with other community leaders. Hidalgo County, like I said, is a border county, and our issues are very unique. However, our issues are also can be addressed by working with our surrounding counties. Like I said, one of the most important things is communicating with them, letting them know what programs that they have in place, and mirroring some of the programs. And like I mentioned, Starr County recently started a program on public corruption. So I think communication is the key, knowing what units, what programs they have in place, and then also us sharing what programs we have in place, the success rate of each program, and then taking part from each one of them and grabbing all those programs and all those resources and all that experience to help our community, because we are a border county and our issues are unique, but we also have neighboring counties that have those same issues.
Thank you. We have come to the end of the questions that were listed here, excuse me, but we've still got a little bit of time, and I am going to give you both your 1 minute of closing remarks. But before I do that, could I ask both of you, starting with you, Nareda, are there any issues that you feel are relevant or vitally relevant, very important for the residents of Hidalgo County pertaining to the District Attorney's Office that we have not asked that you would like to get across to the audience watching?
I think one of the issues that's very important for our community, like I said, is domestic violence. We are losing our individuals, we're losing women that are getting killed. This issue has also translated to our local law enforcement officers. We lost Corporal Speedy Espiricueta, who was there for a domestic violence call. We have also lost Officer Chavez and Officer Garza. They were there responding to an issue with domestic violence, and they were ambushed as they were there trying to protect. We have also Trooper Sanchez, who died in the line of duty, protecting and serving all of us. I think that it's time that we start holding these people accountable. If they are coming after our men and women in blue, then we need to send a message out to them that we're not going to stand for that. We have a problem that needs to stop now. I am tired of driving down lanes named after officers. I am tired of going to memorials. I think that the DA's office needs to take a stand, and we need to send a message that our men and women have our back, and that we also have their back, and that we're going to protect them at all cost.
Thank you. And the same question for you, Terry. Are there any issues you feel that are very important to the residents of Hidalgo County, to the voters, that we have not asked this evening that you would like to get across?
Well, one of the issues that we need to get across to as a DA's office is that we need somebody that will be out there and be tough on crime. We need somebody that's going to enforce the law, and that's what I plan to do. We need somebody that has the experience of doing criminal law. We need somebody that has worked with police departments, and that is what I'm bringing to the table. So we're asking that those issues are very important here in the DA's office. That you handle, this is the biggest law firm in the Valley. You have to have the temperament to handle over 200 people. You need to have the temperament to handle the personnel, and that's what I bring. I think with maturity and dedication, I can handle the DA's office.
Thank you very much. And so that concludes all the questions we have. We're now at the closing remarks stage. We'll start with you, Terry. You have 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Hi, I'm Terry Palacios, and I am running for district attorney because I have the life experience and the legal experience to be their next DA. I have 30 years of criminal law experience. I have worked in every county court at law. I have worked in every district court at law, defending people's rights. I have been a municipal court judge for the last 27 years, actually seeing any complaints, anything from a Class C misdemeanor to a capital murder. That is something that sets me apart from my candidate. Even as a municipal court judge that she's never done one magistration, never signed one arrest warrant. I've been through that. I've done it. It's important that you know that what you're doing when you come into the DA's office is not something it's something a DA doesn't have to learn on the job. I know the job. I've been there for 30 years as a criminal defense attorney. I've been a magistrate for the last 27 years. I am the best candidate for this job.
Thank you. And the same question, that's not the question, it's really your closing remarks, narrator. You have 1 minute to tell the audience about, finish your evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have dedicated my career to advocating for people of all walks of life in seeking justice for them. Does experience matter? Absolutely. And I have it. My experience is diverse. My experience as an attorney, a former public defender, and as a judge is not only representing criminals. I have represented victims, survivors, entities, and families. The DA's office is not simply about representing criminals and giving them a slap on the wrist. The DA's office, I am not in the business about cutting deals. I am in the business of justice. Does representation matter? It absolutely does. You see, I don't come from a political family. I am not entitled. I have earned my opportunity to serve every single one of you. And the DA's office needs someone that's going to represent all of us. You see, it's not a business family. The DA's office is not a family business. It's an office that belongs to the people and should represent the people. We need to keep the politics of the past behind us. We need a new generation of justice, a generation of justice that's going to represent all of us. My mission is to keep my community safe. My mission is to keep violent offenders off the street. I am asking you to please, I'm humbly asking to please vote for me. My name is Senada Lopez Singletary, and I will be your next Hidalgo County District Attorney.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both candidates for such an absorbing conversation and forum tonight. Nerida Lopez Singletary, Terry Palacios, thank you very much indeed. Over to you, Nedra.
Thank you, Steve Taylor. And thank you, Terry and Nerida. We are so grateful to have candidates who have come to tell you how they will serve you as Hidalgo County District Attorney if indeed you elect them to that situation. I want to tell you that we are doing other candidate forums for federal, state, and other Hidalgo County races, and I urge you to watch them on our Futura RGV Facebook page and also our website. They will be available for you to learn about the candidates until Election Day, March 1. And early voting is February 14th through February 25th, and of course Election Day is March 1st. So once again, I will tell you that Futura RGV's message to all of you voters out there: be an informed voter, exercise your duty, exercise your right, and exercise your privilege to vote to make a stronger community and a stronger democracy for us all. And with that, I thank you and good night.